Is the new Ghostbusters Frozen Empire movie relying too heavily on nostalgia? Did they really need to bring Slimer back? And can't they find a better villain than Walter Peck? We're going to answer these questions in this video. But first, FYI, I'm recording this for myself because I feel like this is something that I just want to have for myself to be able to refer back to because I'm so in it that I don't care whether somebody else wants to watch this or not. There's probably 1,000 other people who are as geeky as I am about Ghostbusters that are really going to appreciate this. But for it just reminds me of that Hermosi quote.
The best art is art where the artist makes it for themselves. There's thousands of people just like you who will have the same depth of understanding of it, but it feels selfish in the moment to make something for yourself. But when you make it for yourself, you actually make it for everyone.
Let me just tell you that I have been a lifelong fan of Ghostbusters. It's one of the earliest memories that I have of watching the original Ghostbusters. I'm sitting on the couch as maybe a 3 or 4-year-old little boy, and my parents are looking at me and saying, "What is that, Ben? What is that?" And then I'm watching as the doors open, and it's the beginning of the first shot of the Ecto-1 when the lights go on and they're making their way to the Sedgwick Hotel. This has been part of my DNA. It's been through and through in my veins ever since I was born. I was born in 85, movie came out in 84, and it's just been part of my culture, part of my upbringing. And Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, I had all the toys. We watched the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon series. And I've got, obviously, you can see in the background, I've got 2 Ectos up there. Ecto 1 from Afterlife. My wife got that as a Christmas present. That's the Lego version. I upgraded to put the lights in. And then also I have the Ecto 1A, which is my personal favorite of the Ectos. And I actually have an even bigger one coming here in the mail in the next couple of days. So what is the deal with this Frozen Empire trailer? I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down from the point of view of a fan, somebody who has been waiting for this for what seems like forever. Now, I know that we just had Afterlife in 21, and it's barely been almost 2 years, and we're getting Frozen Empire. But guess what? It can't come fast enough, according to me. And I think there's a lot of fans out there who are just like, yes, let's do it. Let's keep the train. Let's keep the content pumping out because we are just so stoked. Little background. We didn't even think that we were going to be getting another Ghostbusters in this particular universe. When Harold Ramis passed in 2014, all Ghostbusters fans, all Ghost heads just kind of threw their hands up collectively and were like, well, I guess that's it. I guess we're not getting a third Ghostbusters movie. The Ghostbusters video game might as well have been a nice little package with the cherry on top. It was as close to the third movie as we were going to get. And then when he passed, we're like, okay, so when we got GB16 with the one with the women, I didn't necessarily like hate on it that much. I didn't think it had great rewatchability, but I was just happy that we were getting a new Ghostbusters movie. Just the fact that something was happening with this IP made me super excited. I wasn't that jazzed as I was about the originals, but it was okay for what it was. And I remember taking my daughter to the movies and sharing with her the love that I had for Ghostbusters. And so when it didn't do well, and a couple years later, we heard that they're going to make another Ghostbusters movie. At first, we kind of groaned and we're like, oh man, really? But then we heard something that gave us hope. The son of the original director of Ghostbusters, Ivan Reitman, Jason Reitman, his son, was going to be directing, and this gave us hope. And we've seen Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's amazing. It was awesome. It stayed true. It had a lot of nostalgia. I think that it balanced it pretty perfectly. And because it did so well, now we're getting the treat, the privilege of getting the next Ghostbusters series. I feel like Afterlife kind of kicked off, right? It blew off the proverbial dust of this Ghostbusters universe, the OG Ghostbusters universe, the real Ghostbusters universe, if you will. And now we get to finally play because we got the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 back with the racing stripes. We got New York City back, and we're going to dive into the trailer based on me a true blue fan that has the proton pack.
Man, I hope this stuff still works. It should. As a power cells have a half-life of 5,000 years. Don't Ray Egon. Oh, this thing is rumbling.
Let's get into the trailer, and I'm going to break down both the US version and the international version. Let me just be fair warning you here. Spoiler alert. I'm going to be diving into the trailers, and I'm going to be dissecting it very deeply. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you just want to go to the theaters and be totally surprised, then click off now. But we're about to go deep, and we're about to get geeky here. So let's do it.
We're gonna need all the help we can get.
Let's get to work.
All dark and horny at 12 o'clock.
I've been waiting 40 years for this.
They called themselves Ghostbusters. According to these hacks, they saved the world. No eyewitnesses.
Okay, really? No eyewitnesses? Seeing a 100-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in New York City and literally stepping on a church is no eyewitnesses. And I believe we actually have Ghostbusters 2. Like it's canon. We see it in the attic when Trevor is going through some stuff. So I'm pretty sure that also the Statue of Liberty walking down Madison Avenue is also canon. So I don't know what you mean by no eyewitnesses, but we're going to get into it.
And who is found to carry the torch? Descendants of Egon Spengler. You have a miner hanging out the side of a moving vehicle, firing a laser gun indiscriminately.
Has a proton pack.
It's completely safe.
I wouldn't say completely safe.
The Ghostbusters are finished.
So having Walter Peck come back is actually not a bad idea. Mr. Dickless himself. But here's the deal. It looks like he's the mayor. It looks like he's risen to a level of power and that he's going to flex. He's going to flex. I'm sure there's going to be some type of like, how about dim apples, right? Coming from Walter Peck, right? Who's Dickless now or something like that. Maybe to Peter, because the dude looks like he's been plotting and you know what, like whatever. We need a human version of the villain. Okay. And this is what happens inside of like when you're writing scripts. I went to film school for just a small brief period, but in writing scripts, I remember learning about how there's different themes. There's man versus man. This would be Walter Peck versus the Ghostbusters. There's man versus nature, which would be like, in this case, let's say ghosts are part of nature. And then there's man versus himself.
Well, overruled.
Sustained.
Thank you.
So there's been some comments that, oh, this doesn't look funny. Ghostbusters is supposed to be a comedy. It's like, what are you talking about? There's plenty of hilarious moments within just these trailers themselves that kind of give credence, give a little hint as to the levity that this movie is going to include. So those people that are saying that this is not funny, they need to maybe take a step back and let the professionals assess, because come on, that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
You the weird guy who buys strange old things?
Correct on both counts.
Buddy, you just hit the jackpot.
Kumail Nanjiani, this guy is just hilarious. If you ever saw him in Silicon Valley, you know, he's hilarious there. He's been hilarious in other movies. He's got great comedic timing. If I remember in the international trailer, he's got a really good piece in there where he just goes hard.
What is it?
Better question is, what's inside of it?
This is interesting. It looks like there's the orb sitting inside of this little box on the right, but we also have 1, 2, 3, 4 ecto-containment units. What looks like it's inside of the new Ghostbusters like tech lab. And you see how all of them are green, and then something happens with the orb, and then all the lights go red. Boom. This is interesting. I don't know how many ghosts the original active containment unit held, but the fact that we've got, actually, I'm counting 5 now. I see a 5th red light. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and lucky number 5. That's really interesting.
What's inside of it?
So it looks like Mr. Penfield came over and grabbed, he tore open whatever the thing was, the containing the orb, and he grabbed it, and then his hand started to freeze over. I'm betting that this is when the big bad of this new movie, Goraka, as revealed on the official Ghostbusters Instagram page, you basically had to go and like solve a puzzle, and it basically said, "Beware Goraka." Awesome. We don't know if Goraka is man or woman or whatever it wants to be, but we'll figure it out.
The parables tell of an unimaginable evil.
Here, we've got Penfield in the background here. He's got a sling on, so obviously the hand is not active. It's not fully operational. But then we've got Podcast in the back. Podcast looks like he's straight out of the 80s for some reason, which is kind of cool, kind of retro. But why is he talking to Kumail? Maybe this is the bottom of Ray's occult. Maybe he took him down. You know what? Actually, I don't think so, because this has to have been after he's already given the artifact over. So why is he talking to him again? Really interesting. Also, if you notice, Ray is wearing the same clothes that he's wearing when he goes to the New York Public Library. So maybe this is after he's decided to go to the public library, or maybe this is before he's decided to go to the public library. But either way, this is old school Ray stands.
Commanding an army of ghosts.
Okay, so this is really interesting how whenever it goes to put inside its head, it looks like a bolt that just like snaps in to the top of his or her head. I'm going to say he until I've been proved otherwise. But I also love how it's pouring off this cold, almost like this dry ice effect. This is a really unique and updated and interesting take. And putting us into the live action Ghostbusters world, I'm here for it. What was interesting, I've heard other people talk about how this is a firefighter from Hook and Ladder number 8, which is the exact same as the Ghostbusters firehouse. So very, very interesting.
Power to kill by fear itself.
Like literally scared to death?
So Goraka kind of looks like Slender Man. Tall, skinny. The horns come out. Looks like it comes out like arm's length and then starts to curl back around. This is just a cool looking baddie. Very interesting. Although I wonder if this is like some type of museum, because when it goes to take off its horns, you could tell that it's like a gold wall. And this also looks like it's part of a gold wall. But you never know. Sometimes the movie trailers will fake you out. This might be a flashback from when Goraka came about in the 1800s. And this might not be what happened when he comes back to present day. But who knows? Lots of speculation. Can't wait for the movie to come out.
We might be looking at a second ice age.
We're gonna need all the help we can get.
Let's get to work.
Okay, so this is really cool. This is actually a great callback, because we know now that Winston has made a small fortune for himself and he's good with finance. He's got the money essentially. And Ray's been over at Ray's Occult, and he's like, in the last movie, he's like, Ray will turn a profit one day. But this is very interesting because you can see that he's handing over the Neutrona wand. Don't know if it's the new version with the new tip. But if you remember back in the first movie, when he first was getting interviewed by Janine and Ray came up, Ray handed him the steaming, smoky traps. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, welcome aboard. this is like an interesting kind of flip because now here he is kind of handing him back the torch. Just an interesting full circle moment here. All right, I love this here. We have a new Ghostbusters vehicle, a real life vehicle. Apparently, this is a Mercedes Sprinter type of van. It's the same van that they use for Amazon deliveries here in the States. But I love how it's black and you've got the red Ghostbusters logo. It's just so super sexy. And then as you can tell, it's Pinfield opening this. You've got a clear shot of the newly updated proton packs. Those who have been following on Instagram and following along, we've already seen, right, that we have this new yellow bumper. You have the new tip on the Neutrino one. And then it looks like it's pretty much the same, except it looks like more coils of wire straight down the center of the proton pack. And then obviously on the side, you've got the red and yellow stripes. So again, it looks the same, but modified just enough, because I feel like if we go too far out, then you start to lose people. But this looks amazing. This looks cool.
Can I be of any help?
Back to, this is a perfect shot here. So of course we got Bill Murray, which if you want to think about it, Bill Murray is actually wearing kind of like the same orange, like thing that he was wearing whenever he came up to Dana inside of the first Ghostbusters movie, right? Whenever she came out of the orchestra. This is a nod to that moment. But then we also have Ray and Janine, of course, in uniform, but she's also wearing this new type of like a packless Neutrino wand. Interesting new tech. Can't wait for all the prop makers out there to begin to build it. It's just gonna, it's going up on the wall or it's going in the collection. It's done. Which, by the way, just so you know, the whole Ghostbusters world, we are so fortunate to have Jason Reitman record the last Ghostbusters Afterlife movie and his childhood friend direct this movie. Because most of the movies out there that are going back and trying to redo things from the 80s have been messing them up royally. They don't have any respect for the script. They don't have any respect for any of the story, any of the canon. And it seems like there's a level of sacredness that's being adhered to by making these movies. So appreciate it. We see the new top of the Ecto-1 here where the drone comes out, the new racing stripes on the side, and a little nod from Janine because she's wearing the blue glasses, a little nod to, hey, the whole movie is going to be about frozen ice.
Melnitz in uniform. Yes.
So let's go back and see that little shot of Janine. Yeah, this is an interesting little device here. I'm not quite sure what is supposed to happen. Maybe it's just supposed to slow down a ghost. But for whatever reason, it looks badass. And then, of course, we've got the Neutrino wand. We are taking it off safety. Whenever you see it pop out like this, that means safety's off. Time to bust some heads, huh? 2 in the box, ready to go. We be fast and they be slow. This is just amazing. Seeing the back of a proton pack without the back on it, seeing it just kind of swirl around. It's just epic, man. It's just epic. So much. I feel like I'm just pausing this every 2 seconds. Real practical library ghost. The librarian coming after Ray. This is amazing. You could tell everything is glowing this purplish color. Just amazing. And then, of course, you see, wow, look at that. She looks like she's a librarian from like the Cro-Magnon age. Look at that freaking skull and those eyebrows. Woo! And here's Ray, and he's got this like, his mouth couldn't be more wide open. This is so much fun.
But there's something strange.
Okay, so this ghost apparently is called Pukey. It looks like a raw potato, honestly. I'm not quite sure whether this ghost is going to be a friend or whether it's going to be a foe. Kind of like Slimer. So don't know. We'll see what happens. But I wonder if there's something that happens where it pukes on something and it saves the day for whatever reason. it just seems a little cute to just kind of be something where we just bust. Or maybe it's part of the whole, hey, let's create some levity with our ghosts because it's Ghostbusters. It's horror plus comedy.
There's something weird. What are people gonna call?
Again, a callback to the original phone that Janine picked up and answered right as she was getting ready to go. Nobody was calling in. Then all of a sudden they got a call from the Sedgwick Hotel. And then the classic firehouse alarm. Boom, we got one. It's just so much callback here. And of course, Janine's going to say those magic words.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Perfect.
We're the Ghostbusters. Can I tell you something else? What? Buster makes me feel good. Makes me feel good.
Okay, so here's the thing. Paul Rudd is us, the Ghostbusters fans. Literally, like, this guy is our childhood. He's the guy who grew up and he was like, whoa, this is awesome. Nice replica. Like, he represents the fans. And especially in the first trailer where he's just laughing, he's like, oh, like, that's how we feel collectively as a Ghostbusters, like, fandom. So Paul Rudd is amazing. And this makes the song canon inside of the universe. So amazing. Bustin'. Makes me feel good. This here is amazing because this is kind of a shout out to the Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed video game, which I play. You can play as the ghost and you can hide inside of like little statues and you can turn the statue like here and there. This seems like it takes it to the nth level. Totally fun, totally amazing. I love that this is just a thing. It's just bringing all of the nostalgia back. But what do you think? Do you think that we're leaning too heavily on nostalgia? I'll let you know at the end of the video. So here's Goraka. Obviously, they're inside of the new Ghostbusters development headquarters. You could tell because the walls are all lined with blue bricks. Now, it's just kind of sitting here. But what's so interesting is the beams where Lucky is blasting at Goraka. Goraka has just busted out of the orb, assumingly, and is in the Ghostbusters little development center. But the proton beams, the proton streams are bouncing off of Goraka. Interesting. So we're going to have to develop new tech in order to even bust this baddie.
Heads up. It's all dark and horny at 12 o'clock.
So this is an instant classic line by Bill Murray, right? It's going to be awesome. And this here is the best look that we have of this new big bad, Goraka. We have the glowing blue eyes, the horns that come down and point backwards, blowing out the ice or the death chill, if you will. It looks like it's got some jagged teeth. Really awesome. All right, we got our first shot of the actual drone trap. This is really cool. It's really awesome. I love how it looks like that little dome folds back to allow the trap to come up. Which, by the way, this little ghost here is apparently called the Hell's Kitchen Sewer Dragon. Really awesome. I've been told that this is the first little bit of how the movie opens. And again, just amazing to see the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 flying down Fifth Avenue and really busting some ghosts. This is just amazing. Because here's the thing about this little shot. In the first two movies, the cars were amazing, but they didn't, like, they were a character, but they never really got to have their moment to shine. Here, we actually have their ability to be an extra character. So we got that in Afterlife when we got the chase scene with Muncher, and now we also get to have it down the streets of New York City, busting heads. This is amazing. This is what Ghostbusters fans really, really wanted. Back to form, baby. So obviously when people see this, they think Slimer. And they're right. But this also looks like every like teenage boy's room, right? So like, I'm sure Trevor's up here just trying to figure out a little bit about his past, a little bit about the legacy that is the Spengler family. And he comes up here and he sees all of these rappers and then gets the scare of his life. Boom, slimes him straight up.
Yeah.
Now this was cool, having the slime come out of the mouth. That was awesome. Okay, let's move on to the international trailer.
We've all had experiences and encounters with the unknown.
This little scene here with the tricycle just riding down, like this is like creep level 10. Like the fact that it's a kid's little tricycle going down an empty, deserted New York City street. Looks like the taxi cab back here has been abandoned as well. All the mist is going by. This reminds me of like Silent Hill.
And the unexplainable.
Who's playing chess with Phoebe? Is it Egon? Or is it maybe something more nefarious?
Here.
All right, and then you heard like some creepy laughter in the background. Like that's kind of cool. There's a creepy doll. I love the fact that, you know, Ray's occult is still thriving, even though it looks like it's being bankrolled by Winston.
We paid top dollar for your possessed possessions. Now this is very, very interesting.
Have it for 40.
Kumail and Johnny, he's like, you can have her for 40. People were saying, hey, it wasn't funny. Are you kidding me? Listen to this delivery. You could have her for 40.
Never seen anything like this at all. 60.
I mean, like, really? Like, he's like 60. But here he is. Here's Ray with the PKE meter measuring it. And then obviously the thing freezes his desk. And then there's a little bit of an earthquake where the books fall off. You can also see, you know, a Ouija board in the background there. Just awesome.
All over New York City, ghost attacks are on the rise.
What's actually interesting about this shot here of the firehouse is in any video game like that goes to New York City, I'm thinking of like the Spider-Man games, especially Spider-Man Morales. Who's been guilty of like traveling over to Tribeca just to look at the firehouse? Me? I got two hands up, right? Anytime that there's anywhere that even talks about New York City, I just kind of gravitate to where's the firehouse? Did they put the firehouse there? And they did true to form. The Ghostbusters firehouse is inside of the Spider-Man universe in their New York cities, which it should be because it's the real universe.
Ghost attacks are on the rise.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
We've got the shot of the Ecto-1 going out of the firehouse. Again, you see a yellow taxi driving by to let you know that we're in New York. Every time we're outside and in New York, we got to show you a yellow taxi cab. But what's also interesting is we're used to seeing the Ecto-1 come out of the firehouse. We're looking at it from the outside in. And what's interesting is the fact that this whole movie is about the firehouse and it's from the Ghostbusters point of view. So this is really from the Ghostbusters point of view. This is from the inside looking out. Getting a little meta here, but pretty interesting, huh?
And
again, just sexy to see this thing flying down the streets of New York City.
We are the only ones
hold on to your ass,
equipped to fight back.
You could tell it's the Ghostbusters lab because of the blue bricks. This also looks like it's some abandoned like subway station, right? Some top secret facility. Somebody just stumbles upon this and here we have a whole lab. Reminds me of James Bond and like where Q would give Bond all the new tech. That's what Penfield seems to be for these guys.
Welcome to the new paranormal.
Let's break this down here. We've got one guy, 2, three people over here on the left. We obviously have Callie, Winston, Phoebe, Mr. Gruberson, Pinfield. It just looks like this was meant for fun and experiments. Oh, we got a proton pack all the way to the right with the new yellow bumper pad. That's cool.
Research Center.
You just let.
Here's also something interesting. We got a pancake mini puffed, but we also have one of them drowning in blue slime, and then another one, like two vats of extremely red slime, like Dracula red. Where are they pulling that from? What type of ghost is sliming people with that super red slime? Also kind of morbid that it's got some type of coffin type thing over here.
Ghosts hang out in here?
We've spent 40 years trapping them. Now we can study them.
He's cute.
Yeah.
So here's Pukey. He obviously looks like some type of raw potato. I think Pukey might be one of those ghosts that might be a little helper like Slimer, because it just seems too cute. And also maybe at one point it will slime somebody, that maybe it will slime Walter Peck. That would seem appropriate. Pukey just comes along and does this thing all over Walter Peck. It wouldn't be the first time.
Ever since you brought in
this whole J turn here is just amazing, which, by the way, they actually put a Corvette engine inside of the Ecto-1. Like, from the first trailer, when you hear them turn on the engine, you hear that puppy roar to life. That's real. And also, I don't know how I feel about the silver tubes on the side of the Ecto-1 here. What do you guys think?
Strange things have been occurring. You think it's commanding of the spirits?
Is something trying to get out?
Many things.
You could be looking at a full-bore army of ghosts with the power to kill by fear itself.
Like literally scared to death?
That's messed up.
So what is the plan?
We're the Ghostbusters. We stay.
Trevor sliding down the pole here. He's got the new type of proton pack on. You could tell because it's got the yellow bumper and the new tip on the Neutrino wand. But there's a little nod to the ice back here, which says, don't forget the ice, because the whole thing is about ice. Get it? But also look at this green light back here. Is this an indicator? I don't know if this is canon to the first movie, but is this the way that we're able to keep track of the ecto-containment unit in the basement? Because if it is, then that's pretty interesting. But I don't know. I don't know if that's canon or not. Instead of having to go all the way down to the basement to figure out is something wrong with the ecto-containment unit, maybe they got smart and now they have a way to be able to measure it on ground floor.
Fight for this place.
I have a bone to pick. As far as I know, there are only two poles inside of the firehouse. There's the pole that Ray slid down next to the stairs from the first movie, and then there's a pole that's closer to the front doors of the firehouse. So what is this extra pole doing here? Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments below.
Suit up. Shoot anything that looks terrifying.
This is just super amazing. Seeing the new red standard Wuxley, uniform along with the new black Ghost logo. And it looks like it's like a new, is this like it lights up or something? This little black box thing here.
It looks terrifying.
That orb is prophesizing to bring about the end of humankind.
The second ice age.
There are so many yellow taxi cabs here. And the last time that I went to New York City, I didn't see that many yellow taxi cabs. I feel like they really, every time you see anywhere at shots of New York City, they insert these yellow taxi cabs to let you know, hey, this is New York. But I don't know. I think this is just Hollywood putting in way more than there actually are these days. But if you live in New York, let me know. Are there still a whole lot of yellow taxi cabs? But as far as I know, everything's basically gone by the wayside because of Uber. But that said, the reason why I paused on this particular frame here is This guy, this cabbie's hat is literally being blown off of his head. And if you asked me, hey, what kind of movie would this come from? I would instantly say Ghostbusters. Why? Because New York, the yellow taxi cabs, you got the cabbie, but anytime there are ghosts in the Ghostbusters universe, there is a ton of wind. Very interesting to see here. Here is Phoebe, right? You can tell her uniform's all crusted over with ice. But this is not a standard proton pack. This proton pack does not have an ALLLL frame attached to it. This is a HasLab proton pack. And it's interesting because the actress, McKenna Grace, she actually has like some back problems. She had to have back surgery or something. And so it's probably due to that reason. So they've actually canonized the HasLab proton packs. So everybody walking around with one of these proton packs, yourself, yours truly included, has a proton pack from the actual movie. It's just so dope. Thanks, guys.
Get away from her!
Yeah. This is a classic shot of the OG Ghostbusters, which, by the way, I see everybody here has a weapon, including Janine. But what is Podcast holding on to? It looks like he's just got a pipe. It looks like he's just like here for the ride. So funny, so interesting. But what are you doing, buddy? Also, it looks like Lucky's got on whatever the thing that Janine also has on. So this is interesting. New tech, new props to make. Let's have some fun, guys. And again, Garaka. I wonder if it's going to speak. Maybe it doesn't have to speak. Gozer didn't speak that much. Do you really need your big bad to speak? Maybe not. We'll see. I have a bone to pick with this because Slimer, when he first comes out here, he does not have Cheeto crusted lips. He just doesn't. But then all of a sudden here, he totally does. Anyway, this is my breakdown of the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire trailer from a fan who's been a fan for my entire life. And, it's one thing because I feel like all of the 80s kids that were just super fans back in the day are now all grown up. We're now in our late 30s, 40s, and 50s. And we have disposable income, ready to spend money on all of the traps, all of the props, all of the toys. I mean, I have another Ecto 1A coming in the mail myself. I've got multiple Ectos. I've got a proton pack. It's just amazing. It is an amazing time to be a Ghostbusters fan. And so if that's you and you've enjoyed this video, give me a like, show me some love. And, if you have anything to add to the conversation, I'd love to hear from you. I've been following along all of the different social media channels about Ghostbusters. I'm excited for this movie and I can't wait to watch it. Let me know what you think and I'll see you on the next one.